Let's get real for a second. We all have struggles. Even the most disciplined, the most enlightened, the most powerful among us, the ones who were born with a purpose, destined to shake the world, fight battles no one sees. And there's one battle that no one talks about, one that lurks in the shadows, waiting for a moment of weakness: lust. Now I know what you're thinking. That's not me. I've got my mind under control, I've got my mission, I've got my discipline. But here's the truth. Lust doesn't care about your discipline. It doesn't care about your success. It doesn't care about how spiritually awakened you are. In fact, the more powerful you are, the harder it hunts you. Why? Because lust isn't just about physical desire. It's about energy. It's about the unseen forces that move you. And when you suppress it, when you pretend it's not there, when you shove it into a dark corner of your mind instead of facing it head on, that's when it becomes a monster. That's when it starts to control you in ways you don't even realize. So today, we're going to tear the mask off. We're going to get raw, get uncomfortable, and we're going to face this thing together. Because if you don't, it will own you. 5 reasons why chosen ones secretly struggle with lust. 1. The power of suppression. Suppression is the breeding ground for destruction. Think about it. The more you tell yourself, "I won't think about this," the more it dominates your mind. Ever tried not thinking about something? It backfires. The moment you push it away, it comes roaring back stronger than before. This is the trap of suppression. Chosen ones are wired for self-control. You've trained yourself to master your emotions, to silence the noise, to move with purpose. But there's a catch. Suppression isn't mastery, it's avoidance. And avoidance creates resistance, which only fuels the fire. Let me tell you a truth most won't admit. Lust doesn't weaken because you ignore it. It gets stronger. It lurks in the background, building pressure, waiting for a crack in your armor. The moment you're exhausted, frustrated, lonely, it strikes. And when it does, it doesn't come as a whisper. It comes as a hurricane. Ever wondered why some of the most disciplined people fall the hardest? It's not because they're weak. It's because they've spent years building a dam to hold back the flood. And when that dam breaks, the flood doesn't trickle. It destroys. So what's the solution? It's not suppression. It's integration. It's about understanding that lust is energy. It's neither good nor bad. It's fuel. And just like fire, if you don't control it, it will burn you down. But if you master it, it will drive you forward. This is where most people get it wrong. They think control means resistance. But true control is about awareness. It's about standing in the fire without letting it consume you. It's about feeling the energy, acknowledging it, but not being ruled by it. Because here's the deal. You can't win a war by pretending the enemy doesn't exist. You win by understanding its moves, its patterns, its weaknesses. And once you understand that, you can take that energy, that hunger, that fire, and channel it into something far greater. The only way out is through. And that starts by facing the truth. 2. Energetic sensitivity is both a gift and a challenge. Chosen ones, those who are deeply attuned to purpose, success, and higher consciousness, often experience the world differently. They don't just think about things, they feel them. They pick up on the unseen forces around them, the energy of people, the weight of emotions in a room, the undercurrents of desire, ambition, and passion that others might ignore. And this heightened sensitivity makes them far more susceptible to the pull of lust. Lust isn't just a physical craving. It's an energetic exchange, a force that moves between people, places, and even thoughts. When someone carries strong sexual energy, an energetically sensitive person doesn't just see it or hear it, they absorb it. It's like being a tuning fork that vibrates when another frequency is nearby. The more open you are to energy, the harder it is to block out these signals. And if you're not careful, they can take hold of you before you even realize what's happening. Many chosen ones struggle with this because they are natural conduits for energy. Their presence alone draws people in, and whether they intend to or not, they become magnets for admiration, attraction, and sometimes even obsession from others. And when that happens, the energy exchange can become overwhelming. They may sense an attraction before a word is spoken, feel an unspoken tension in the air, or even carry the weight of someone else's desires without knowing why. This makes lust an even greater battle, not just because of their own feelings, but because they are constantly absorbing the energy of others as well. The challenge comes when this energy isn't properly managed. Instead of processing it, understanding it, and redirecting it, many suppress it, deny it, or try to ignore it. But energy doesn't just disappear. It lingers, it builds, and eventually it demands release. The more energy sensitive someone is, the more crucial it is for them to have the right outlets, whether through creativity, movement, or deep internal work. Because if they don't, the energy turns inward, manifesting as uncontrollable urges, frustration, or even reckless actions. Mastering energetic sensitivity means recognizing that attraction and desire are not weaknesses. They are signals. They are reminders of the energy flowing through and around you. The key is not to fight it, but to own it, to channel it with intention, and to ensure that you are the one in control, not the energy pulling at you from all directions. 3. Loneliness at the top is one of the most overlooked reasons why chosen ones struggle with lust. The higher a person climbs in their journey, whether in personal growth, success, or spiritual awakening, the more isolated they become. They begin to outgrow old friendships, detach from environments that no longer serve them, and step into a reality where fewer people can truly relate to their experiences. This isolation creates a vacuum, and that vacuum is often filled with the pull of lust. Humans are wired for connection, and when deep emotional bonds become scarce, the mind and body look for substitutes. Lust presents itself as an easy fix. It offers a momentary illusion of closeness, a fleeting sense of being desired, wanted, and connected. For someone who feels alone in their journey, these moments of intimacy, whether physical or emotional, can become addictive. They may not even realize it, but their craving for lust isn't just about physical pleasure. It's about filling an emotional void that success, discipline, and purpose alone can't satisfy. The more someone ascends, the more they attract admiration from a distance rather than genuine companionship. People may look up to them, idolize them, or even desire them, but few truly see them. This creates a paradox where they are surrounded by attention yet feel profoundly alone. Lust becomes tempting because in those brief moments of indulgence, they feel a sense of presence, of connection, of raw human interaction that reminds them they are not completely detached from the world. Without strong emotional grounding, this can spiral into a dangerous cycle. The loneliness fuels the craving leads to indulgence, and the indulgence brings temporary relief, only to be followed by deeper emptiness once the moment passes. Many chosen ones don't recognize this pattern because they believe their struggles with lust are purely physical or instinctual, when in reality they stem from something much deeper, a lack of true connection. The challenge isn't about eliminating desire, it's about understanding its root. When a person acknowledges that their battle with lust is, at its core, a battle with loneliness, they can begin to address it from the right angle. They can seek genuine relationships, build deeper emotional bonds, and find ways to fulfill the need for connection without turning to temporary solutions that leave them feeling even more disconnected in the end. The pressure of perfection is one of the heaviest burdens a chosen one carries. When someone is seen as a leader, a role model, or an individual with a higher purpose, there is an unspoken expectation that they must always be in control, always disciplined, always above human weaknesses. This creates an intense internal struggle when it comes to lust because it is one of the most primal and instinctive desires. The more they try to uphold an image of perfection, the more they feel like a failure for even experiencing such thoughts. Lust is not just a physical impulse. It is a force that can challenge a person's self-perception. A chosen one who has built their identity around strength, wisdom, and mastery over their impulses may feel deeply conflicted when faced with lustful desires. Instead of addressing them with understanding, they often respond with guilt, shame, or denial. But guilt and shame don't dissolve desire. They amplify it. The mind begins to obsess over what it tries to suppress, turning a simple craving into an overwhelming battle. Many chosen ones develop a double life because of this. Outwardly, they present themselves as disciplined and in control, but internally they fight against thoughts they feel they shouldn't have. This secrecy makes the struggle even harder. When a person believes they are the only one dealing with something, they isolate themselves, convincing themselves that admitting to the struggle would shatter their identity. They avoid seeking help, avoid talking about it, and end up trapped in a cycle of suppression and indulgence. Another layer of pressure comes from the fear of disappointing others. Chosen ones know that people look up to them. that their actions influence others. The idea of failing in this area feels not just personal, but communal, as if one mistake could ruin everything they've built. This fear creates a relentless need to appear flawless, which only deepens the internal conflict. The more they hold themselves to impossible standards, the more likely they are to break under the weight of those expectations. The real battle is not against lust itself, but against the illusion that experiencing desire makes them weak. When they let go of the need to be perfect, they can start to understand that discipline is not about suppression, but about mastery. Facing their desires without fear or shame allows them to navigate them with control rather than being controlled by them. 5. A powerful, driven individual carries an immense amount of raw energy. This energy fuels their ambition, their creativity, their ability to influence and inspire. But energy is neutral. It doesn't distinguish between creation and destruction, purpose and pleasure. When not properly directed, it will find an outlet of its own. And for many chosen ones, that outlet becomes lust. Lust is one of the most intense human forces because it offers an immediate release of energy. For someone who operates at a high level, constantly pushing toward greater goals and higher achievements, there is often little time for rest, little space for emotional processing. The drive that makes them successful also keeps them in a state of constant motion, constantly seeking an outlet for the fire burning inside them. When they don't intentionally channel this energy into productive or creative pursuits, it begins to manifest in ways they don't expect. Many chosen ones don't realize that their struggle with lust is actually a symptom of misdirected energy. They think it's about weakness or lack of discipline, but in reality, it's about excess power with no place to go. The more intense their inner fire, the more temptation they face because the body and mind are searching for a way to balance that energy. Lust becomes an easy, accessible way to relieve the internal tension that builds up from living at such a high frequency. This is why so many highly successful, highly disciplined individuals still find themselves battling uncontrollable urges. They are not weak, they are overflowing with unprocessed energy. They may push themselves to the limits in their careers, their leadership, their spiritual pursuits, but if they don't have a proper way to transmute that energy, it turns into an unconscious craving for physical release. The body, the emotions, and the mind all demand balance, and if balance isn't intentionally created, it will be forced in the form of distractions and impulses. The key is understanding that lust isn't the enemy, it's a signal. It's the body's way of saying, there is energy here that needs direction. When chosen ones learn to recognize this, they can take control of their own power, redirecting it toward creativity, movement, or deep spiritual focus. Instead of being consumed by their desires, they can use them as fuel, transforming raw passion into something far greater than temporary satisfaction. Conclusion: the battle with lust isn't about morality, it's about power. It's about who's in control, you or the force pulling your strings in the dark. If you're a chosen one, if you're built for something greater, understand this: the struggles you face are not weaknesses. They are initiations. They are tests. Lust isn't the enemy. Suppression isn't the solution. Mastery is. Because when you take that energy and wield it with intention, you don't just overcome it, you turn it into a force that makes you unstoppable.